Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to my channel. I would like to do a video today for you on outlining my novel. At least this is going to be part one. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. You see this mishmash of papers here. This story, actually, I should say this is one of possibly 6 book series, came to me in January of 2016. It was very, very rough at that time. Of course, it was something that just popped into my head about 4 sisters. This is taken back place in the Regency period. Excuse me. And about these 4 sisters that their father is a well, at first it started off their father was going to be a duke, but I'm thinking of changing that to having him be a viscount or something of that nature. But at any rate, it was 4 sisters, and I even at one time had a working title for it. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that title or not. I don't know. But there are 4 sisters. The oldest is going to be initially, her name was Isabel. And then the middle sister is Sophia. And the youngest sisters are twins. And their names are going to be Abigail and Annabelle. However, those names might be changing based on research I'm doing on the Regency period. So those names might be changing. I'm not really sure. So it's going to be a historical Regency, and each sister is going to have their own story, but also a character that is part of their story and will become profound to the sisters is their cousin. And she also will have her own story. And just this past week, another character came to my mind, and that is going to be the sister of one of the husbands for the girls. Actually, it'll be Isabel and Richard. He is going eventually to be her husband. And his sister came to my mind the other day and brought in a new angle to the story that changes it somewhat. Hence what I'm getting into right now, outlining a story. For me, this has been a almost 3-year process. This story has taken so many twists and turns. Ideas have come to me that, wow, yes, this story has changed and has grown. Obviously, there are going to be even more books, and I don't know. As I get into writing the other sisters' stories, new books may even spring forth from that, from different minor characters. I don't know how really long this series will be. I'm really not sure, which is another reason why I'm actually contemplating, do I want it to be the Walford sisters, or do I want it to be the Walford family? I'm not sure. Again, it's still a work in progress, but all of this will come to be by the time I get to publish that first book, because one thing is for sure, yes, certain things may change as I continue with the series, but there does have to be some concrete decisions made even when posting that first book. Like, I do have to make sure I know who my core family members are. Okay, who that foundation is, what is their name, and in regards to the book and the future of this series, what title do I want to give this series? Because again, do I want it to simply be the Walford sisters and stop? Or do I want it to expand to other characters and even further generations? That I have to come to a decision about. So, now that I've taken you back a couple years, as I said, this story just came to me, the idea. All it was at that time was 4 sisters, the oldest, the middle, and the 2 twins. I didn't know much else. And I just simply wrote, at that point, on this piece of paper, that's what I wrote. That's it. That's all I wrote. Some of this other stuff here came much later. I have notes upon notes upon notes of this story. Okay, let me just go through and show you some of these notes. And if you can see, I even have things X'd out, you know, moved, starred, what have I added, what have I changed, so many different things. I even have phrases that I've captured to use in the book. And initially this was going to be called the Wexford Sisters, but upon my research I found Wexford being an Irish name, that would not work. So I have, you know, tons and tons of notes. But after that initial spark came to me in January, it was in June of that next year that the story, particularly this first story, really started pouring, and I mean pouring out of my head, you guys. Really started pouring out of my head. Yeah, I just, you know, there are just so many notes, and this is one thing, in this part one of outlining, I'm going to show you my thoughts on how I'm going to start organizing all of this. That is my goal these next 2 weeks. As all of you know, I'm going to be doing my best to participate in Camp NaNoWriMo in July. And that's where I want to start writing the rough draft of the first book, Isabel and Richard's story. I will, in another video, go down, give you an overview of this story and give you more in depth. I will even read you some of my notes. But I wanted to give you an idea of what it's possibly like for those of you who have never written a novel, or maybe you're interested in what's the writing process like, what's the outlining process like, how do authors go about coming up with these stories. Well, like I said, for me, it was a little idea in the shower a couple years ago. I remember it was a snowy night in January. The story just popped in my head. I feverishly ran downstairs, grabbed a pen and paper, and this was what I wrote. My Regency series, Book 1, The Duke's Fair Maiden, 4 sisters, twins, our youngest, Abigail and Annabelle, middle girl, Sophia, oldest, Isabel, first book. That's all I had. That was it. Nothing else came to me at that point until June. Then came all of these other notes came flooding out, like in the course of, like, I don't know, a couple of days, that a lot of this stuff just came pouring out. Tons and tons and tons. And then even parts of the other sisters came flooding out. And I had all these notes, like, oh, okay, wow, great. It was all moving along. Then I sat down and let me see here. How have these changed? No, I must have 2 copies of these. Yes. Oh, this one. I have 2 copies. These are the notes that came flooding out in June. Okay, I printed these off and tried to start putting them in some order. Background on, you know, my characters and some of the scenes and everything. Okay, so that was that. Okay, that was the next step. After I poured it all out on paper, then I actually sat down at the computer and typed it up and started to kind of, and I will let you guys know, I chose my pen name is Marie Greaves. Okay, that's who I'm going to be writing under for my historical romance novels. If I write any educational books or resource books, you know, I might even write my experiences with chronic illness. I don't know what books are living inside of me, guys. But if it's historical fiction, historical romance, I mean to say, let me clarify that because there is a difference. Historical romance, it's going to be under Marie Greaves. Okay, that's the pen name. And I've even got my, well, a temporary blog, and you know, I do have some of my social media up. But anyhow, so this started off as the Wexford Sisters. That Irish name is not going to work. So I put all of these jumbled mess here into a neat little, you know, on the computer, whatever, a file to save on the computer. Okay. Then I went sometime after that, I think it was one of the Camp NaNoWriMos or whatever, I was contemplating sitting down and really working on it. So then I went and took these notes and printed them out again, and then I started going through and marking them up and changing. Okay, again, changing, you guys, seriously. Like, you know, I started writing in the margins, I started scratching things out, you know, Faircrest Manor to Ashton Manor, all this stuff. So I started, you know, making some notes and, you know, making changes again in this crazy, wonderful, lovable, just fun. It's fun. I'm telling you, just believe me, it's fun. It's craziness, but it's fun. So then, after I've gone through all of that, I then have had in, again, here is some more notes coming at you. Here we go. Okay, more changes came flying to me just this month, okay? Like, for a while, due to illness and everything, I admit this story kind of laid quiet in the back of my mind. Every now and again, my characters would peek up to me like, come on, write me. You know, you want to, write me. So, this story has changed again, 2 times in this month. Okay, some backstory on my main character, and I'm going to do a separate video and go into this, okay? I don't mind. I'm not one of those authors that's like, oh my god, I can't share anything with you. I want to share with you. No. When we get to the actual writing stage, guys, I'm not going to share with you everything, okay? Because I want you to eventually buy the book, read the stories, okay? I'm not going to tell you everything. But I'm not going to be too terribly shy either. I'm going to share with you my story, but, you know, but there are some things that I'm going to keep private. And again, if it's my luck, by the time this thing actually gets out to publication, what I would have told you in these videos, yeah, will probably totally change. So I'm not even really worried. But anyhow, the core of the story has really remained the same. Okay, and I will get to that in another video. I am so excited to tell you guys about my story. But, the other day, okay, or actually, it was a few weeks ago, that backstory of my main, the heroine of my tale in this one, Isabel, or Isabella. Most likely it's going to be Isabella, because that's what would have been proper in the Regency period. Okay, I digress. More of his backstory came flooding into my mind the other day, which actually, due to that backstory, that is going to change Isabella a bit. Okay, she's going to have a little more of a dynamic to her that actually changes the story. Okay, wow. After having poured through hours of notes, I'm almost back to the drawing board, guys, because of one element. Believe me, it can change your story. Not all of it's going to change, but it is going to change a big storyline for the hero and the heroine, okay? So, yeah, it is pretty big. So that's why I'm now back to the drawing board. Believe me, I'm never going to chuck these notes. These are going to stay with me, because there are snippets of them that I will use. But yes, I am back to outlining. Okay. Then, also, something else that has changed the story. 2 things. Sometimes I think I was meant to keep it on hold for 2 years, guys. It was just supposed to sizzle in the back of my mind. Okay, another big change. A big character. Not just a little minor one. A big character came to my mind about a week ago. Okay, yeah. She's the sister of the hero. He didn't have a sister at first. He had a brother that died. But he didn't have a sister. This sister is a big impact. She's going to be a big character. And she's also, at first, to my heroine, she's going to be not very nice. And she's going to be kind of a pushover with her brother, too. So she's got a big part in this story now. So here again, that is affecting my main characters, my hero and my heroine. That's going to affect them because they have this new element in their story okay, including their love story. This is going to be a big wrench. Tension, love it. I'm glad this character popped into me because she's going to be fun to write. Let me tell you, and I'm not going to tell you how she's going to turn out because just know she's going to be fun to write. Oh yeah. And the tension between her and her brother, that's going to be fun. And then the tension between her and my heroine. Oh, I'm going to have so much fun with these characters. I'm so glad she popped into my story. Where has she been these past 2 years? So, yep. We are back to the drawing board somewhat. Like I said, somewhat. Okay, which means also new books are coming. You know, meaning added on to what I initially thought. Initially, it was just going to be the Four Sisters books. Then it grew, added on to the Four Sisters, initially the Four Sisters, and then we added on their cousin. And then now we have added on, count them, 6 books now. Yeah. Okay, I have a lot of writing ahead to do. Let's hope my arm can be healed because I got a lot of writing to do. Okay, so there is the smorgasbord of my notes. And like I said, changes happen all the time. So now, what I have got to do with all these notes, I have taken the time today to sit down after I've been reading some writing craft books, which are really, really good, and I have a few more to read. I have sat down and formulated an organizational and outlining layout, so to speak. I'm not going to say structure, no. But this is how I'm going to be organizing this whole mess, okay? This is how I'm going to start organizing this stuff. What I want to do, I've got myself a nice 5-star Mead notebook, but eventually this will probably be transferred into a 3-ring binder, but for now I'm using this. Okay, y'all don't need that. That's just something I was jotting down some other notes for another story. You don't need that. Anyhow, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it up in 5 sections. I got this from James Scott Bell's story, Plot. Is it Plot and Structure? I just read it. Like, it should be in my mind. I think it's Plot and Structure. But it's a it's a writing craft book. I'll link it down below in the description box if I remember. But anyhow, he had this idea of when he starts his like notebook or whatever, he has 5 sections. That was really a good idea. However, I didn't choose his sections. I created my own sections. And this might even end up being 6-part section. I'm not sure. But for now, I have come up with section 1 is going to be characters and backstory. Within this, we are going to have character sketches, okay? A character sketch is, you know, questions you ask your character, trying to get an idea of who they are. Tons of different questions you ask your character, not just name, place, whatever. But a lot of questions to really delve deep into that character, okay? Then we're going to have the characters' backstories. They themselves each have their own backstories that may be part due to their parents or other characters in the book, but they themselves have individual backstories. Going all the way up to infancy. It's going to be a process. You think I'm going to get this done by July? We'll see. Then I personally love doing character photos. I get an image of, you know, someone off the internet or whatever that reminds me of my characters, and I've already done this. I do have Scrivener on my computer. I've not totally adapted to Scrivener yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that for my outlining, but I did, not last year, but the year before when I did NaNoWriMo. That's another story. It's another story. Want to see the folder already started for that? Here's the story for, yeah, the story I did for NaNoWriMo. So, no, I did not win NaNoWriMo that year, but this story also will be eventually written. Anyhow, I digress. I ended up downloading the free version of Scrivener, which, by the way, I still have many, many days left on it. And I started creating like character profiles and everything. So I do know I love photos. No, that's not what my character is going to look like, but it kind of gives me a reference point. It gives me an idea, especially if I find a photo that has a certain like look. You know, her furrowed brow. You know, something like that that reminds me of my character doing something. I like that. That's fun. Those kind of things too are going to be put in my character section. Also, I'm going to be creating character bios on each character. Now, this is different than the character sketches. The character sketches delve deep, okay? We're deep. We're getting into the layers. I want to nitpickiest part of you, okay? Personality, everything, okay? I want to know you inside and out. I want to know those characters like I know myself. But the character bio is just going to be about a paragraph or two. It's an overview, similar to like if you were asked to put a professional bio of yourself out for your work or whatever. That's going to be what that is, okay? Then I'm going to have backstory as a whole, okay, that pertains to the whole story. Being that these are historical romance novels, a lot of my, you know, the components of my books, the places, the setting, different things within the book, some of it will be out of my head, okay? There are some fun things I'm going to totally create, but there are some things that are going to be totally true to Regency, England. And I want to learn the backstory. Plus, I want to learn even the backstory of the stuff that's in my head. For example, if I create a manor or a hall that is pertaining to my family in the story, what's its history? I want to know the backstory of that hall, beyond just what's taking place right now in my story. I want to know, when was that built? How was that built? How did that come to be? I want to know all of those little tidbits. Again, maybe I'm going more in depth than some authors, but I don't know, guys. I love these characters so much. I just want to know everything. And again, not all of this stuff will be in the books. This type of stuff like backstory, a lot of that you will never see the light of day. It will never see the light of day. But I need to know it to therefore create my stories and make my characters real. I want to give them heart. I want you to fall in love with these guys and root for them and cry for them. And yep, you're allowed to get angry at them too. If they do something you don't like, get angry at them. So anyhow, and any traditions, you know, stuff like that, that's all going to be part of like backstory and everything that's important to my families and my places and stuff like that. So lots going to go into this section. Section 2 is going to be dialogue. Now, as I'm even just outlining or even pondering, I already have bits of dialogue already. I want a section, and I'll show you how I'm going to divvy out the sections, but I want a section where I can just, when that pops into my head, I want to write that down. Let me see if I can give you an example of something that I wrote. Did I write anything? There is a negative balance of £872 that must be paid as soon as possible. However, taken your situation, I will give you 3 months to pay it. So even something like that, you know, anything that comes to my mind, any type of dialogue, anything that comes to my mind, I'm going to have a section here. And then I can, even if I don't know where that dialogue fits, or if I do know where that dialogue fits, I'll make a little note and say, okay, dialogue fits in scene 2, scene 3, or this area of the story, what have you, you know. Okay, moving along here. Then section 3, and this pertains to my book. For those of you that find this helpful, please use this for your own books. But section 3 is going to be history notes and research. Because these are historical, there's a lot of history I need to know. So as I'm outlining, as I'm letting my mind just open up and run as I've done in these many, many pages, there are questions I'm going to write. You know, for example, initially this one scene I was going to have, they were going to have a summer house party, okay, a country party. Well, as I've started to do some of my research, I'm not so sure if that whole thing will play into be, because I wanted a lot of this to take first in Isabel and Richard's season. So, I'm not sure. There's a lot of research I've got to do, and I've got a great book, which I will do. I will share with you guys, a Regency Companion book. Also, I'm going to be reading books on England's history, a lot of things. But in time, history notes I need to write down that are pertinent to specifically this story, for sure. History notes in general, yes, are important of the Regency period, of course. The more familiar I become with this era, which I know quite a bit of it already, but the even more familiar I become with it, the better writer I will be in the long run. However, any specific history notes and research that pertains to this story and characters and this, you know, that will go here in section 3. Then section 4, this is my scenes, okay? I'm going to be starting to write out my scenes. I may, at this point, I'm not sure, I may just write them a short sentence or a paragraph. How do I want my scenes? To give myself an ebb and flow of how are these scenes going to be broken in a linear fashion, okay? I'm not yet writing chapters. I'm just going to be writing by scenes. I will do the chapters after I've after I've written and read my rough draft. For example, let me show you, when I did NaNoWriMo, I printed off the, this was another story I'm working on again, The Duke's Winter Bride, Wedded Bliss in Winter. I don't know if that's going to be the actual title, but at any rate, you know, it started off here, and it, you know, continued, and this first part, you know, ends here. I put this little break here. That might be the end of first chapter, or that could simply just be a scene. I haven't fully decided. Okay, that might be a scene. Okay, a scene within the first chapter, and then we move on, and then here, okay, ends. This might be the end of chapter 1. Okay. Again, it depends on how I decide, how I see the flow of things as to eventually how I set up my chapters, you know. Because I'm not one of those outliners that can just go chapter by chapter. I feel too restricted in that way. And yes, let me briefly say this and then we'll get back to this. I am an outliner, but there are some areas I just let my mind flow, and when I'm in that writing zone, if new things happen to pop out, I let them flow. Okay, I let flow. I do try to stick to a fairly, you know, a little more detailed outline, but I don't say like you must stick to this outline. No, allow that imagination to run. Allow the words to fly. That character might take you in a different direction. Let it go. When you go into the rewrite, or even the third draft, that's when you start really being a bit, okay, it's crunch time. Get this folded together. Don't let it free flow too much. That's a type of, so I would say I am 80% outliner and 20% pantser. Okay, that's what I am. So anyhow, the scenes, again, within the scenes, again, this is just going to be a rough sketch of how the book will flow. And also, I'm going to be bringing about plot points, such as the inciting incident. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to write in the 3-act structure, a 5-act structure, or my own. I haven't decided yet. And that may come, even that itself may come when I get into writing. I'm not really sure. It just depends on how things flow. But I do like some of the elements in the 3-act structure. I'm kind of more drawn to that. But I don't know. See, when I outline, I will tell you this, I basically, like, it's an overall narrative. It's not like broken plot point, plot point, plot point. I may go back and read that summary and find those plot points. But I basically, as if I'm telling you right here, you know, what's going to happen. That's kind of how I outline, at least right now, up to this point. But I am going to try to start breaking things down into my scenes and trying to see, you know, do I follow a certain act structure, or how does my outlining go? I'm not sure yet. It might even be my own system, and that's okay too. Then, section 5 is going to be any additional notes while I'm outlining, or even when I get into writing the book. I will have all of this here beside me. Any additional notes that pop into my mind, new things, whatever, those are all going to be free flow. Just write them down. Don't worry about adding them into that rough draft at the moment. Once I get these, you know, core here, and I get to really getting into that outline, that base outline, basically any additional notes, once I sit down to the computer to write, any additional notes will be taken in the rewrite. Once I get done with my rough draft, I will do a whole new outline, complete new outline, because things will change. I can tell you right now, because I saw it in the Duke's Winter Bride. Those characters, I'm sorry to say, they start taking you in different levels, areas, whatever. They take you. Believe me, the story changes. Even if you have an outline, you can have the most strict outline out there. At least not in my experience. I have yet to sit down with a strict outline and my story not take a change. No, it always does. So, additional notes, throw them out there. Whatever comes into my mind, whatever the characters does, whatever, that's going to be all in here. Okay, so let me show you. Temporarily, we're going to use this. Who knows, I might end up liking this. But this first section here, that's going to be, and they have nice little pockets, so I can put little notes or things like that I want to add, or pictures of my characters or something. So these are all going to be characters. And then this section here is going to be all about dialogue. Any type of dialogue that comes into play, that's going to be there. Then we are going to have the history and research. So any historical research and notes are going to be here. And then we are going to have scenes. Okay, start mapping out those scenes. And then the last section is, of course, going to be any additional notes that, oh, that's other stuff that flies out of my mind. Any additional notes. Okay. And also, in this outlining process, I will be using my planner that I showed you guys the other day, and getting back to all of this. Once this here, this puppy here, is all done and worked out. Okay, I've got my characters down. You know, any snippets, and all of this, you know, doesn't have to be all written in as you're outlining, as you're writing. Things will come to you, but your character stuff has to be pretty well mapped out. Yeah, that's got to be pretty well mapped out. But either this book and or if I switch this over into the into a 3-ring binder, which is what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to actually sit and write the outline out, okay, on paper. Or if I do decide I want to do it on the computer, But at first I'm going to write it out on paper. And that gives me free flow to get out any little changes, scratches, whatever, so I'm not wasting paper, just free flow. I can write in the margins, I can write little notes, and then go back down and, okay, now I want to really, okay, get this outline ready to go. These next 2 weeks are going to be very busy. If you would like, I'll give you outlining updates, videos. If you'd like to have, I'll give you outlining updates and let you know where I'm at in the outlining process. But yeah, that's what I'm headed for, guys. It's a big, huge story. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of work. Yep, a lot of work. To be honest, I can't even believe all that has flown out of my head. Like I said, I had no intentions of writing a story. Yeah, I've written stories in the past. And when I was in college, I've read a lot of historical romance. I had the fleeting thought in my mind, oh, I would love to write one of these stories. I would love to write one of them. I love them so much. It is my absolute favorite genre. But it never went anywhere. I thought, yeah, you know, life, you have to pay the bills. You can't be sitting and hoping on that. But well, life has changed. And now with self-publishing, I'm not going to take up all your time here. This was an outlining video, but let me just say these stories that have come to me 2.5 years ago want to be written, and I'm going to start the steps on getting them written. And first, we're going to take all these notes and start the outline. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful to you. Sorry about my rambling a few times. If you would like, when I am done with my outlining, if you'd like me to create an outlining work page for you that follows what I'm doing, this is just, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just starting my own system. But if you would like me to do that, to create an outlining document for you guys to use for future reference, let me know. I hope it's helpful. I'm looking forward to these next 2 weeks of, I'm calling it Camp Nano Prep Line, because I'm outlining. Camp Nano Prep Line. So that's what it is. I am, you know, in NaNoWriMo they call it Preptober, which that'll be coming up for me. But this is Prep Line, because I'm outlining and preparing to sit down on July 1st and start writing this book. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and give it a share, and also be sure to click that subscribe button if you would like more videos like this, because more writing videos will be coming your way. Thank you guys again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.